Yes guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. The game has just finished. Tottenham Hotspur, the victors, 2-1 against Leeds United. Tottenham continuing their impressive away form, undefeated on the road this season. We currently sit second in the table before the culmination of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, although apparently Arsenal are currently 1-0 up at the time of recording against West Ham. But guys, we are second in the table in the Premier League, having only been bested by Bournemouth a few weeks ago. We're undefeated and 4 points from 6 in the Champions League. We're into the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. Everything looks rosy, and yet today was a potential pickle of a banana skin, if I'm entirely honest. You have the difficult scenarios of having to sort of navigate the 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday that Tottenham traditionally don't do very well in. You have to also navigate the reality that Tottenham never seem to do well and the game before the international break. I apologise if the wind is popping, by the way. I'm going to try and get out of the wind now. You also have to navigate the fact that Tottenham Hotspur have got a few injuries again this weekend, and that we had to pick sort of players in certain positions that for me, for the most part, was I think the strongest and correct team to pick. And yet we came away 2-1 winners, especially against the statistics. If you're a statistics merchant and you're looking at all of the data around the game, you might come to the conclusion that Tottenham were very fortunate to take away the points. I don't believe so, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But for what it's worth, despite the scoreline finishing 2-1 to Tottenham, we were on the wrong side of every metric. We had less possession, we had less territory, we had infinitely less momentum, we had less shots on target, less shots off target, less shots in total, less big chances, less passes. We had everything going against us, and a referee that for my liking was giving most of the 50-50s, especially for the first 65 minutes, 70 minutes towards Leeds. And you had, if you were listening to the TNT commentary, commentators that were trying to find reasons to always praise our opponents and very rarely ourselves. Everything was stacked against us, and yet we still came away with the victory. And you know what, I'm so proud of the team. I'm so happy right now seeing where we're sat, but also what we saw today from players that were put into the team that get a lot of heat, a lot of, I think, unnecessary criticism and critique and essentially almost agendas that are fighting against the narrative. Mathys Tel was picked in the 9 ahead of Richalison. Udogie picked on the left-hand side ahead of Xavi, who was moved into the central position. Pape Sarr and Berghvall were benched today, and at the back you had in the back two, the defensive two, you had Bentancur and Palhinha that were shoring up in the 4-2-3-1. The back line was, as you would expect, Udogie and Pedro Porro in the wing-backs, and Romero returning to the team to partner alongside Micky van der Ven. For my liking, I've been someone that said that if you're going to play Palhinha, then Bentancur and him in the same sort of duo in that double pivot creates a bit of a stickiness, a running through mud sort of environment at times that doesn't necessarily bode well for our creative output, which has been under the scrutiny, I think, for the most part over the last few weeks. But in front of them you have Xavi Simons, Udogie, who on the left-hand side today, for me, and I know you're going to hear different things from different people on this, but for me, Udogie had his best game in a Tottenham shirt. He doesn't do what Kudus does, and because of that, some people that are comparing apples and what they think is apples are actually comparing apples and oranges. The reason why Kudus can do what he can do is because he has Pedro Porro behind him that can work in tandem. Pedro Porro doesn't overlap to the same degree as what a Udogie can do. If Kudus was on the left-hand side playing behind Udogie, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Kudus can run forward, he can take players on, he can exhaust his options, he can turn around, give it back to Pedro Porro, who's very patient and then sits there and has the ability, the capability and the opportunities to whip the ball into dangerous areas, which he's very, very good at. We don't have that same capability and competence on the left-hand side, but what we do have are people that are starting to build chemistry and relationships. Udogie was the man of the match for me today. I know that Mohamed Kudus was given it, but I thought Udogie was sensational, just like he was against Brighton. However, the key ingredient there that you have to remember is that Udogie can't do what he does if he has a different type of winger in front of him, a more selfish winger that receives the ball and thinks about what he can do with it, not what is necessarily best for the team. I'm not comparing the two, I'm literally using it as a relativity point. You have what you have on the right hand side. When Jed Spence is played on the right hand side, it doesn't work with Kudus. When Jed Spence plays on the left hand side, Jed Spence is fantastic and a phenomenon at being able to defend and man mark and basically pocket players out of the game that are brilliant left-footed right wingers. When you have the chance to be able to connect relationships, you need a left back who can work with his left winger, and we have that in Destiny Udogie and Wilson Odobert. Wilson Odobert's best points today, and the reason why I thought it was his best performance, wasn't going to be measured on any statistical graph. It wasn't going to be shown in take-ons. It wasn't going to be shown in crosses, assists, XG, XA, any of that stuff. You have to watch the game to see his ability to come deep, to pick the ball up, to win the ball back in those scrappy duels that won't necessarily be counted towards his name, and then him turning and knowing that Destiny Udogie has the foresight and the relationship to run into the space. Those two do different things. Their relationship is different to how Pedro Porro and Kudus operate. And if you are comparing Odobert to Kudus because you want to have a left winger that does what Kudus does, you're missing the point, in my opinion. Odobert was fantastic today because of the relationship that he has with Destiny Udogie, and Destiny Udogie was, for me, if not the man of the match, then the second man of the match behind Kudus, purely because he has a partner in front of him that is allowing him to do what he does best. It doesn't work if you mix and match, and I hope you can see my point. For me, we won the game today, guys, by being solid at the back, defensively sound. It was a slippy, horrible, wet, weathery, windy environment that was going to be causing chaos for our backline. People will also go after Vicario. I personally am not a huge fan of Vicario. I'm really not. But what I will say to you is that you had someone today who made a couple of mistakes that made you question, if you have that kind of target on his back and you're looking for reasons to say, again, he screws up again, you're going to have those moments. But what you also have is a sample size of what Vicario can do. 2 or 3 times today he made absolutely incredible saves that were deflections off of Van de Ven or other players' feet, and that his instinct and his positional sense when it comes to less time to think, more time to act, he is very, very good at. When Dominic Calvert-Lewin spins and loses, I think it was Van de Ven or Romero in the second half, and puts the shot out, it pivots off of Van de Ven's foot, and he makes an unbelievable save with his feet. Unbelievable save with his feet. In the first half, the actual goal that Tottenham conceded actually took a wicked deflection off of Van de Ven again. He makes a great save, he parries it into a channel that you'd hope would be okay, and unfortunately I think it was Odobert, it might have been Pedro Porro, that wasn't awake to the rebound, and he gets put in. But for me, Vicario, whilst he frustrates the life out of me, what I've seen today from him is more and more examples of what I think is the kind of template for Vicario. The more time he has to think, the less impressive he is. The more instinctive that he is with his displays and his performance, the better he is. He's a fantastic shot stopper when he has less time to think about things. Either way, Tottenham Hotspur, we take the lead from a wonderful shot from Mathys Tel, who I wanted to give a few minutes to. He didn't do a lot today. He didn't do a lot. He wasn't involved in the game because Tottenham didn't have too much of the possession, didn't create too many chances, but he got his chance and he took it. Again, it was a deflected shot, but it was an absolutely fantastic finish, top bins for him, and you could see him banging his own head in celebration, as if it's his way of suggesting to himself, when the cameras are on, get out of your own head, stop letting the confidence gap that he has been going through recently affect him. He's a confidence guy, he has to believe in himself, and I would encourage all of you who don't think that Mathys Tel is any good, get off his back, support your team, support your player, because you have him for a long time to come, hopefully. I think he will benefit from this no end, but I would encourage everybody that wants to always land and lambast somebody to recognise that you're not serving any purpose in doing so. He's just joined the club for a lot of money. He's going to be here for a long time. You've seen today that he has the ability when he wants. He also headed the ball and he rattled the crossbar. I think he twisted his ankle in the landing of that, and I think he played for the rest of the game with a sore ankle. And because he didn't want to come off the pitch, because he, for him right now, minutes is all important, then he didn't want to come off. But I think a lot of the things that are happening with Mathys Tel is because he's very aware of the information and the energy and the zeitgeist around him. And I'd encourage everybody to support him, because he's a young player that has just signed for Tottenham. And there's absolutely no benefit in using him as the scapegoat because of what happened in the Super Cup and because of his mistake in the Newcastle game when he had a 1-1 in an irrelevant pre-season friendly. Support the guy, and you might just see some output that will yield benefits for all of us. What I'd also say, guys, is on the left wing, we are where we are. We can all agree that we would ideally love to have a Semenyo. We would love to have a Savinho. That's not going to happen. An Adamola Lookman, someone that can do a little bit more of the sorts of things that Mohamed Kudus can do. But ultimately, I think in Udogie today, we saw a performance. If you actually watched it, I hope you did, and you can see where I'm coming from, whereby it's chemistry and relationships are equally as important as output from the individual. And I think that, for me, Udogie today had his best game in a Tottenham shirt, and we should celebrate it and not try to just carry on with our opinions because for some reason we'd rather continue to be right than acknowledge what is actually right within regards the performances of the players. We go 1-0 up. We get picked off in the second half. We get picked off shortly afterwards. A fantastic goal from a great player. Okafor is a great player. When that ball was pinged in, like I say, it took a deflection off of Van der Ven, and it falls for Vicario, fantastic save. It falls to Okafor, who's alive to the rebound. He puts it in. It's 1-1. And to be honest, at that point in time, I thought that 1-1 was a fair game. It was a great game. The first half was sensational. Second half, we have the wind in our direction. The rain starts to come down, and it was again mostly Leeds, but we get to have some chances there and playing on the counter. It's okay. It's okay to be on the receiving end of some pressure and go against it. Anyone that thinks that any game in the Premier League is easy, or we should be just walking all over certain teams, it's madness. Leeds United got clean sheets in their first 2 games. I believe they'll be absolutely fine this season. I hope they will be, because I think they're a wonderful credit to the Premier League, their team, their support, and I think they've got a nice way of playing under Daniel Farke. We eventually get our chance, and Mohamed Kudus finally gets his goal for Tottenham Hotspur. He should have probably had it during the week or last weekend, but it wasn't to be. But it's fantastic for him as well. Gets to celebrate sitting on his stool. He's been waiting 7-8 weeks now to do that. Fantastic for him. What I would say, guys, after that, Bentancur, for me, the midfield battle was an interesting one. I think that it was the right mix, but then when Palhinha got the yellow card, that was essentially influenced by the referee, the referee being influenced by the reaction from the home bench, and it was the kind of game was played on, and then it was drawn back for a yellow card. He went mental, and he was very angry because he got the ball. I think rightfully so. But at that point, you're wondering, is it too dangerous to keep him on the pitch? Is it too dangerous? You can't afford to lose him for the Aston Villa game. But who are you going to change him for? Are you going to bring on Archie Gray? I don't think Archie Gray is a 6. I think against Leeds in that kind of weather, in that environment, it wouldn't have been correct. Do you put Bentancur back in the 6? Again, for me, problems there, and it kind of once again revises this narrative that I think that Tottenham Hotspur need a proper 6 to play in and work with and under the tutelage of Palhinha. We don't have one. We have too many 8s, not enough 6s. But I think that maybe Palhinha could have come off, because after he gave away his next foul, he essentially realised that if he fouls one more time, he's off. And then he was largely irrelevant in the last 25 minutes. And Leeds United had some chances in the last half an hour. They did. But Tottenham, we dug in, we fought well, and we got the result. And I'm so impressed, so impressed, so happy right now with Thomas Frank, with what he's done, what he's delivered. We are essentially undefeated since the Bournemouth game. The performance wasn't great, it wasn't spectacular, but I think it was the best creative performance, albeit in micro moments, that we've put in, especially away from home. We're looking better and better and better, And I'm starting to see chemistry and relationships that are coming from players that most people are writing off. And I think we're silly and naive to write these players off. I don't think it serves any purpose. I think we have to shake hands with what we have and also recognise that just because you're not doing what Mohamed Kudus does, doesn't mean you're not creating and contributing to the team. Hats off to Udogie, hats off to Mathys Tel for hitting the bar, for carrying on injured and for getting his first goal. And I'm so wishing and willing him to have the confidence to be played again against Aston Villa, to give him some moments in the team, because his contribution in the game for me will be more valuable than what Richalison can offer. Again, I don't want to be accused of having, like, what's good for the goose can't be good for the gander. I want to support Richalison as well, but Richarlison's had a lot of chances. He's older, he's been around the block, he's been here a long time, but Mathys Tel is a young kid, and we have to recognise that when we're just throwing around these kind of crazy criticisms and agendas around that they're no good, and therefore we've made our mind up, and now we don't want to recognise the reason to be positive when we can. It's madness to me. At the back we were great. Pape Sarr comes on and does well, digs in, and he's perfect for those sorts of environments. He's perfect with his energy levels high, his rangy legs, his ability to pick players off, to intercept, to interpret. His football IQ is so much better than most people give him credit for. Guys, listen, I'm going to stop rambling. I just wanted to get this out to you. I'm so happy today. We're second in the league. I think the worst we can end up being is about third in the league right now, or fourth in the league given this weekend. We'll see what's going to happen, but it's a great way to finish the period before the international break. Fair play to Thomas Frank, fair play to Tottenham. Shout out to the away fans that were there today. They were unbelievable. Wonderful game of football, really enjoyed it. Real proper old school game of football, and Tottenham come away with the points. So many positives. Let's get behind the team and the players, guys. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.